I've raised a lot of money for the next race that I assume I can't use for myself, but I'm not 100% sure because I don't know. I think I'm not allowed to run again. I'm not sure.
Trump 2028, could it happen? President Trump seems to be getting younger as he ages. We've gone from the weekend at Bernie's presidency to the Benjamin Button presidency. One of America's oldest presidents may be the youngest at heart. He's healthy, he's leading, and he's actually as popular today as Obama was when elected. In a divided America, that's a real accomplishment, probably even more so than when Obama achieved these popularity rates because it was a very different country. The Constitution does not permit President Trump to seek a third term, but constitutions do change. And my next guest, Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles, has a proposed constitutional amendment that would allow President Trump to run again. Congressman Ogles joins me now. Congressman Ogles, tell us about your legislation to amend the Constitution.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. Thanks for having me. Look, we've seen President Trump work at a breakneck speed in his first week. It's literally historic. And so I think what you see when he swept the battleground states, he won the popular vote, is to put it to the American people. Would you want Donald Trump to serve a third term? So what it would do is that if you have a president who has served non-consecutive terms like Grover Cleveland and President Trump, so it only applied twice in history, the American people would get the choice as to whether or not that individual would get to serve a third term. And I think the answer to Donald Trump would be an absolute yes.
Well, clearly it's got his attention. President Trump mentioned the prospect when he was with you and your colleagues on the Republican House retreat. Have you talked to President Trump about the legislation, and are you assembling co-sponsors?
Well, so I have not spoken to him yet. Obviously, the last few days, we were at the Republican conference. I'm up here in D.C. right now. We just did the Lake and Riley Act, so I was with the president again. So it's all about timing. But also, I think it's important, as I put this forward, as it garners momentum, and there's a lot of interest around this, is to do it independently of the White House to see if it has that organic kind of appeal and support, which I think it does and will. And look, if there's anyone... When you look at Joe Biden, he was an absolute failure for 4 years. It's going to take a decade to unwind the catastrophe that was the Biden administration. And so what this would allow is for President Trump, under his amazing leadership, to fix and restore our republic, to usher in that golden age. Then that sets up J.D. Vance for a historic and successful 2 terms as well. We have a chance to reshape our country into what our founding fathers intended, which is for us to be free, to be conservative, and to be independent, and get rid of all this woke crap.
So here's my tough question of the night, Congressman.
All right.
Are you worried Obama would run again?
Well, actually, the way it's written, it's if you serve consecutive terms, you would be ineligible to run for a third term. And so what this is looking for is those unique times in history where someone serves a non-consecutive term. It takes a very special set of circumstances for that to even occur. It's only happened twice in history. And so this is one of those situations where history is needing leadership. Our country is needing leadership, and Donald Trump is the individual to step into that void and to get our country. And look, you've already seen it. You've already seen it. We are in a better place today on the global stage because of Donald Trump. He had Colombia try to bow up to the United States of America. That would have never happened under anyone. I mean, Mickey Mouse could do a better job than Joe Biden. And in less than, quite frankly, an hour, Donald Trump says, you know what, we're going to tariff the crap out of you if you don't take these criminals back to your country. Literally, you see the prison census across Central and South America. Crime is down. They've emptied out their prisons, and they sent the worst of the worst here to the United States of America. And they're preying on our wives, our daughters, our sisters. Enough is enough. Oh, hell no. Let's get them out of the country. Let's send them to Guantanamo where they belong, not here in the United States of America.
Yeah, so you are just coming off of this big Republican retreat. Folks have returned to Washington. What was the big takeaway for you in that strategy session regarding the work ahead?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm not trying to be critical of my friend, the speaker, but I think it could have been much more productive than it was. I think we could have come out of it with a clearer picture of what we were going to achieve. There were some targets set for the various committees that allegedly is going to yield, over $1 trillion and a half dollars in savings. The problem is I think it's a lot of DC math that's hard to actually explain to the American people of what we're actually cutting. A cut of a future spending isn't really a cut, right? So what are we cutting? The American people are having to trim their budgets, right? They're having to cut their budgets, real dollars, not pretend dollars, not future dollars. They're having to cut dollars today to make their budgets work. So what are we going to cut to save the taxpayer money? That's what I want to see. And so I personally favor a two-pronged approach. The president has said he doesn't care if it's one bill or two bills, because we can deliver border, we can address the debt ceiling, we can get those quick wins that the American people want. What the American people demanded in this election, because if it's one big bill, it's going to be loaded with all of the lobbyist crap. You know all about it. You've been up here. You know what this town is like. And the bigger it is, the more crap is in there, the harder it's going to be to pass. I think, quite frankly, we're being set up for failure. And I, for one, am going to fight for the two-bill approach.
Do you think the two-bill approach rescues the House from that failure you're worried about?
Well, and I think, again, you've seen how this town operates. The clock, they're going to run the clock out. They're going to get down to the wire, and then they'll just pass something to say we had no choice. Whereas if you were to come to this with a very much more pragmatic and practical approach to say, you know what, look, the Freedom Caucus, I have said, I'm not a big fan of raising the debt ceiling, but I recognize that we need to do it, that we're willing to do it if we can get certain basic concessions, like actually cutting spending. Like that's a good trade-off. Everybody's willing to do these things, but they're afraid of what might or might not happen. And again, so we can address the tax policy in a second bill, which I know is complicated, but that being said, we're here to do a tough job. John Quincy Adams liked the House of Representatives because it's where you argued and debated, but this town seems to be afraid of having those tough conversations, and they just want to pass, again, a junk bill so that they can claim victory and go back home to their districts and pat themselves on the back. But at the end of the day, if we're not cutting spending, we're not doing our jobs.
Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles, he wants the politics to expand way out into the future, but he wants the spending cuts right now in the upcoming year, not pushed off to year 9 or 10. Thanks so much for being here, my friend.
Absolutely. Thank you.